a dispute.
Okay, Sam, it's all yours.
We could go to the videotape. Good morning.
Okay.
Just want to say, I was watching. I didn't go to Washington. I don't know how many people on the line here did, but I will say that as I was watching it, and I think I was watching it on Fox Business on their 1:00 show, and they were talking, and this made me proud that that the demonstration that was in front of them that they were talking about, and they were interviewing people, the Fox reporters were all out there, that it was so different. So, that the Israel crowd was so contained and so calm and I'm just saying, in contrast to what they see from the Palestinians, what you saw yesterday, if you saw watched the Palestinians, I think they were demonstrating in front of the DNC headquarters and the headquarters. What's different? No, is it? I guess maybe I should expect it, but to hear them say it, that that on TV for the Fox audience to hear was very nice. It was very heartwarming, I guess you could say is the word that I'm looking for. And in a sense, you say, Jules asked me that question again, I'll repeat the question. Why is it different? What's different? And I think that will take me sort of into what I want to get into today. What I think is a very interesting part, and I think Rabbi Markowitz, I think it was Topic 1. I did not hear it. I got home as I walked in, as I almost always do, except when I have to speak. When I walked in, I heard we're talking about about Abraham and why he did he follow the Torah? And I think that was in this week's Parsha, and why? And it leads me to the question, and I've asked this to myself very often: why Abraham Avinu? Why was he chosen? What is special about him? And in effect, how does it affect us today? And that includes what I sort of opened up with, saying that, that was a pretty nice thing there, and they said nice things about the Jews and the Israel crowd. I think that there's a connection there. And Abraham, and if you go look at Abraham and what did he do, and the influence, and why does our Siddur talks about him as B'nai Avram, that we are B'nai Avram, B'nai Bris Lecha, of God's thing. And what is it? What was it about Abraham? And I think that not only do you look at yesterday, but if you look at his life, but I will start the movie, so to speak, in Parshas Vayera, when we can go back and after he's had his circumcision, he's had the bris milah for him and Ishmael and the rest of his family. The three malachim come, and as they're leaving, the king, they go out. We've already, let me go back a step. We've already met the king of Sodom from the war, and he goes back to business as usual. Avram doesn't want anything, but he goes back to business as usual. And so what happens is later on, then we have the bris milah and we have the various other things. And then as we get to this story about Abraham and the circumcision and his bris, the malachim are all leaving. The men got up and they left, and Abraham has a conversation. God has a conversation. It's probably what what in the movies they would call as a soliloquy. God says, and I don't know who he's talking to, he says, shall I conceal from Abraham? Shall I hide from Abraham what I'm going to do? Why? And Abraham is surely going to become a great and mighty nation. And all the nations of the earth shall bless themselves by him. And he loves him and whatever. I mean, you hear this, but why? And the reason that God says that what is Abraham going to do, and it's the title of my this little talk. It's tzedakah mishpat, and not only that, okay, not only because we know they've been monotheists before. We talked about that. We've heard that often. Always been monotheists before Abraham. Okay, but what made Abraham different? I think that you would say that in order that because he will command his children, he's going to teach his children the way of Hashem, doing tzedakah umishpat, in order that he might bring upon Abraham that he's spoken to. And then all of a sudden, Hashem says, and then he tells us that Sodom and Gomorrah has become great, their cry. And so the men turn from, and the men are going on, and Abraham sort of gets into the conversation, and he has the discussion with God, with Hashem. I mean, Abraham is talking to Hashem, and I sort of emphasize that because if he was talking to Elohim, it would be the God of justice. So he's appealing to God not as Elohim, but he's appealing to him as Hashem, as a God of mercy, as the God of the people that we could sort of relate to, and the conversation is, I guess you might say, somebody like Alan Dershowitz would say that this is the Abraham, the first lawyer, okay, arguing the case of the sinful people of Sodom and Gomorrah. And we know the conversation. If there's 50 people in the Mississippi, I think he goes down to 10. Would he save them? And it comes down to the entire city, and God knows that Hashem knows that Abraham is that he has his Lot is there, and we are told that Lot is sort of referred to as Abraham's his brother. And we even though it's his nephew, but it's like a brother to him, and he desires to speak to the Lord, and so Hashem is going to save Lot, perhaps only for Abraham, after we see the scene there. But Abraham, but the key to this whole thing that I'm sort of getting to is that Abraham is the man. Abraham, and I think that the key to this is, and one of the keys to understanding this is that he's going to pass it down, that there's a covenant, there's a bris, that this bris is different, that makes it different for us, that every time a Jewish boy is born to a Jewish mother, we sort of expect that there will be a bris. We'll have a whole crowd there, or 10 people, or whatever, but there's going to be a bris. He's going to be brought into the covenant. And from there, he's supposed to learn. Our job as parents, grandparents, or whatever, at this point, I guess you might say I call him as a grandparent, is to try to see to it that the child is born in the right way. And that's the tzedek and mishpat. Now, I don't know, when I heard yesterday, I'm looking for it in my Chumash, What the discussion was yesterday, God sort of tells, wait a minute, this week's portion, there we go. Why, and I know I marked this off first, I did this once before, here we go. And then in this week's parsha, just to kind of fast forwarded, Hashem appeared to Yitzchak, and he said, and he tells him not to go to Egypt. There's another famine in the land. We've seen a famine before. Not going to get into that. That's and it's he established, I give all these lands to you because of your father Abraham. Okay, this whole thing, even with Yitzchak, as good as Yitzchak was, whatever Yitzchak was supposed to do, whatever his role was, he got it from his father, and he was supposed to pass it on. I will increase your offspring like the stars of the heaven. Well, he only has 2 children, so that's really not the stars of the heaven. And I will give it to your offspring, all these lands. The nations of the earth shall bless themselves by your offspring. Why? Because Abraham obeyed my voice and observed my safeguards, commandments, decrees, and Torahs. But you get the idea. Yishma mishmarti mitzvot chukotai b'toratai. Again, it all comes down to Abraham, and Abraham is going to pass it on to Yitzchak. And as we know, with all of the turmoil in this week's parsha, in the end, and I'm not going to get into the in the end, with Esav and Yaakov, and their whole thing that they had between them. After everything, and Esav is angry at his brother. Maybe we can understand that somehow. Isaac calls Yaakov in. He blesses him. He instructs him and says, "Don't take a wife from here." He sends him off to his brother-in-law, and may El Shaddai bless you and make you fruitful. In other words, after all of the turmoil and everything else that happens, knowing who's standing in front of him, knowing what he did to his, knowing that he tricked him with Mirmor, with deceitful, he was deceitful to him. In spite of all of that, Yitzchak tells his son to go to his brother-in-law, find a wife. And what is he going to get? He's get the blessing of Abraham, back to Abraham again, that you may possess the land of your sojourns, which God gave to Abraham. And it goes back to the Tzedek and Mishpat. Now, I'm not sure if we analyze all of what happens to Yaakov, whether we see how much Tzedek and Mishpat there was, but Abraham is Avinu. He is a character that in our lives, that it is the foundation. We become Bnei Yaakov, we became Bnei Yehuda, but it all seems like, it doesn't seem like anything. It just goes back to Abraham. It goes back to Abraham. And one of the things that I will point out, and I didn't bring my sitter here, I will use this sitter that I have in front of me. But one of the things that Tzedek and Mishpat that has been passed on, and that gets passed on, that Tzedek and Mishpat, that if we take this and we go, I'm going to fast forward this. I hope it's okay with everybody. To Pasha Shaftim. Oh, here we go. And what is in Pasha Shaftim? The very beginning of Pasha Shaftim, it says, Shoftim v'shotrim. Okay, you shall appoint in your cities for your tribes, and shall judge the people with righteous judgment. What is righteous judgment? Mishpat tzedek. Okay, this is why did Hashem choose Abraham? Tzedek and Mishpat tzedek, and so we see again. Here we go again. the whole object of this, how is Bnei Israel going to be ruled when they get to the land? With tzedek and mishpat. Okay, you shall not respect anyone's presence. And there, some of the highlights of that parsha, the tzedek and mishpat, the death penalty for idol worshippers is the rebellious elder. Believe in the rebel there, and then you get in the parsha. Okay, things that I think that we've heard from Rabbi Markowitz on his Tuesday, in his Tuesday with class on, I think he calls it on leadership, talking, and he spent a lot of time, a king in Israel. I will set a king over that we will have a king. We will set a king over you, and the king shall choose from among your brethren, and the word is comes from that word, the same word that is used to describe Lot. He's part of the brethren. As much as we might argue whether he acted like he was part of the brethren, but he was part of the brethren. He was considered a brother. Okay, and you're going to set a king over yourself. Okay, can't be a foreigner. He cannot be someone who's not your brother. In other words, Mendy's my brother. Jay is my brother. Marvin is my brother. And only from this this brotherhood, I guess you could call it, is where the king is supposed to come from. You shall no longer return on this road again. Okay, and then there is the various rules about the king not having horses, too many horses, too many wives. You shall no longer return on the road. The king, and the most important, probably the most important rule of the king, of the law for the king, is that he's supposed to have 2 copies of this Torah in a book before the Kohanim, the Levites, it shall be with him. He shall read it all the days of his life to observe the words of the Torah. So that is, so we're supposed to pass it on. The king is supposed to be, probably the king is supposed to be the most knowledgeable man in the kingdom, in his kingdom. He's supposed to know the laws, all the laws that are in the Torah. He's supposed to be very well educated. And one of the other, here we go. And one of the other main characters, okay, that the king's supposed to rule, he has his, we've heard before this in the Torah, we've seen it twice actually, he's supposed to have a Sanhedrin. There's supposed to be a Sanhedrin of 70. And there will be, and the king has a special character that actually is kind of unique. I'm not sure, there's a prophet, and that's the Navi, that's the prophet. It's hard to tell where he comes from, who he is, what his it's hard to tell who he is, what his qualifications are. I think that's what I'm trying to say. And he's going to come from our midst. He's supposed to be one of the brethren, the brotherhood, and he's supposed to hear you're supposed to listen to the Navi. According to all that you ask of God, I can no longer hear the voice of my Hashem, great fire I see. And it's in what is very interesting about the Navi is that is his role with the king. I think I'm just trying to figure out how I would describe it, but I think what his qualifications are. But I think I'll just go to the story of David. After he has his relationship with Bathsheba, he has this. There's this, and he sends Bathsheba's husband eventually, without getting into the details of that, but he sends her husband off to the wars, basically to die in battle after much drama, and the Navi at the time at that time was Natan, and Natan comes to David and tells him, gives him this parable about a rich man and a poor man, and how the rich man abuses the poor man by taking his sheep and taking his property. And David said, and he asked David, so what do you think? And David goes, the man should die. He's punishing him. And Natan says, you're the man. You're the man. And that causes David to go do tshuva. I think he fasts for 30 days. But that role of the Navi is kind of unique, I would guess. Of course, we do have the Navi Yirmiyahu, who did pretty much this similar thing as Natan did, except warning the nation, and because nobody wanted to hear it, he got thrown in jail. So not everybody always listens to the Navi. We don't always believe him, but that's his job. And I guess you might say, if I was to analyze the government that's given to Bnei Israel, you'd almost say everything's got checks and balances. You have the Sanhedrin. The king wants to go to war. He has to talk to the Sanhedrin. If he wants to do various other things, and he has to know. And then there's also the Navi to give him another check on him, to tell him, to keep him in line. So, and one of the places that I think that it's almost interesting to see is that this whole concept of tzedek and mishpat, is to try to stick with that. When you today is Friday, when we said it to him, that goes with Kabbalah Shabbat, notice as you go through the Tehillim there, the six, I think there were six there, that I believe talks about tzedek and mishpat in almost each and every one of them, that we're supposed to remember it, and each one remembers, each of the Tehillim there remembers the day of the week. So we're we're reminded as we go through the days of the week that tzedek and mishpat are the keys to our life, that we're supposed to keep it in mind, that's what Abraham passed along. That's what Abraham passed along to was passing along to us, and that we should keep it in mind as we go through our day and through our lives, that it's important to do it. And maybe the example of those 300,000 people is something that we could all keep up and be proud of. Anyway, thank you for your time.
And no litter on the field. We left that place clean.
That's right. What I'm saying is that's what the lesson that we get. And I think that's what Abraham passes along to us. He is the key. Even we are B'nai Abraham. And I think Rabbi Sachs points out, if we were to ask who is the most influential man in the whole world in history, it would be Abraham. There were about 15 million Jews, all those Muslims, the billions of Muslims and the Christians. I mean, who else could be more influential than Abraham?
Yes, Carl, Sam, thank you so much for coming to speak to us today. Very much appreciated. Everybody have a good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.
And